Hello for everyone. I represent the Kaunas Municipality Environmental Department. I'm Radeta Savickienė. I will briefly introduce the results achieved together with the Lithuanian Nature Fund. And the Kaunas Oak Park is a very important area for us, not only ecologically and from the point of view of nature, but also this is an area which attracts many residents. This is a recreational area. Green color depicts that area that we speak about. And in Kaunas City, all recreational green areas, they're very important, and they make up about 12% of all the area, and they're frequently visited by our residents and guests. This is a map of our city. Green color depicts areas which are in residential areas, not far from the houses, not more than 10 meters from the houses, easily accessible. So if we look at the map, we see the density, and that Kaunas has a thankful situation concerning the distribution of green areas, except that right corner and area depicted in blue, which this is distance about 3 kilometers. I use this slide in order to see why we went to Kaunas Oak Park with infrastructure works, because it is highly visited and it serves as a transit area which connects the city, the upper terrace of the city with the lower, with the central part of the city. Therefore, this is an area which has three very clear statuses of protection. First of all, Natura 2000 area. It requested from us to prepare, together with the Lithuanian Nature Fund, a special nature management plan. And so we implement one of the projects which we called oak trees and beetles. And then we have to speak about the forest of state importance. So we can implement all the measures that are special measures related with the forest management, and also the area of cultural heritage with special requirements as well. Therefore, we faced a very serious challenge, how to combine all those statuses. And in certain cases, we had to coordinate opposing provisions and how to implement the project successfully. Yes, that was a challenge. And so our way out was that we ordered additional dendrological investigation. There was a special dendrological commission which attempted to assess those values in the order of priority, what is higher, what is lower. And the biggest value in our oak park was, of course, old oaks, ancient veteran oaks, and Osmoderma barnabita. Therefore, we took the idea to do the things in such a way that this value never suffers. And the structure of paths of cultural heritage became secondary, and therefore all the decisions were taken in such a way that our oaks, the huge precious trees, and our beetle do not suffer. And then I would like to show you how our decisions look like, including the oak park from the functional point of view. Here we have areas that have formed themselves historically. We didn't have to invent the things. We just had to assess them properly and to take decisions. In particular, in those areas which are intensively visited. In the sand color is the area in which there is that infrastructure part of the decisions related with playing grounds, with exercising equipment, more active activity, and light green color is the silent zone, the so-called silent zone. And here the nature management informative path will be installed, will be constructed, and the Lithuanian Nature Fund helps us in doing that. Here we have marked the paths such as they have formed themselves historically, and these paths have to be such as to manage to the flows of people. And not far from the Oak Park, next year there will be a sports infrastructure completed, and we will have even more flows of people in this Oak Park. Therefore, we had to think about the proper arrangement of those paths so that there is not too much of that free walking, avoiding negative impact on our nature monuments. And here I included a slide for you to see those paths and the situation with them. We didn't do anything new. We left things that have formed historically. There appears only one cycling a track which was proposed by the residents themselves, because the Oak Park is that area which is good for transit as well, because many cross it by bikes, and because of the big number of people and safety, we decided to create a transit track closer to the alley of Vidūnas. And you see bigger and smaller paths, all in all 8 kilometers in length. So they are in former places where people used to walk previously. So I think that this is a wise planning decision, and the paths have to be installed in those areas where people really walk. 12 sites, the rest sites will appear, which will be constructed in the form of islands and some playing grounds for children and benches. And there appear also 2 stairs. And in one or another edge of the park, we need to have the toilets. The main tracks, the main paths will be illuminated, of course, due to the safety concerns, because they serve as transit tracks, and we have darkness quite early in our country, so illumination was needed. It will be regulated. What were the main environmental measures applied in order to make this project more friendly for the environment? So first of all, we took a decision that while designing, the tracks could be changed easily while implementing the project. Because we notice when you come, or when the contractors come to construct their tracks, they get too close to trees, or they make some mistakes. So we decided to take care of that and include contractors so that the tracks are distant from the trunks of the trees for about 5 meters. And covers which are in sensitive areas, they have to be constructed manually without using any, hard technical measures. And densifying works were refused in asphalt squares. And those who know about infrastructure would know that in order to construct a track, a special densification size is needed in order not to compact the route. So a free interpretation was included in the project. And that, of course, is not allowed by legal acts, and there appears a certain collision because there are requirements to achieve a certain densification levels. But in this case, we managed to prove for the experts that oaks or other trees, valuable trees, are more important than that. And we will try to look at that in a more free way. Illuminations have to be installed without the trenches, using the soft technical measures so that no hard devices are used, and environmental maintenance and management was included as a must. And so environmental maintenance was important, included different requirements and implementers. So we created what we could create it. And we just told to the company, to the contractors, do everything to have as little damage as possible. And that was a very complicated case, but for future, we should, so to say, change the legal basis. It would be easier for all of us. And several pictures how the situation looked before reconstruction and after reconstruction. Some were in poor shape. And these are tracks with natural covers. It would be damp and humid, a lot of water. And now they have been improved. And the biggest problem is playing grounds for children. They were installed previously, and this is a negative example showing what must not be done in such areas, and they will be removed in order to improve the conditions for the trees, and also the exercising equipment will be removed from there as well. And the wet areas, we try to regulate the level of water a little bit, but not too much. And we do that carefully. We speak with hydrologists because we are afraid to damage our trees because of sudden changes. And perhaps the biggest discussion went around this throwing sector. And we had a representative of the Olympic Games. And so the decision was to dismantle everything and just to have a very soft fence, which would be used in a more free way so that we avoid such terrible constructions as until now. And we hope that the decision will be much better than until now. And other decisions concerning the management works in the Oak Park zoning, for example, remains benches constructed to the places and sites which are exceptional, where people can observe, and also some connections and relationships have been recreated while speaking about Mickevičius Valley and Tunelis Street. Also, the children's playing grounds would be removed, which are too close to the root of the oak trees, and they will be installed in the places which are not close to the trees, valuable trees. And most or the biggest part of the covers is done using natural materials, and people are very glad and happy about that. And of course, illumination will be installed. Here you see several examples of removal of the playing grounds from the bigger trees. Here's the same view as to how the playing ground will look like, avoiding children getting into the water, and also the stairs and some other works, some first works. So if you visit Kaunas Oak Park, you will see what has been done. So not everything was successful. There were some damages incurred because substances have to be kept to be stored not far from the trees, and machines had to be used, and there was some damage caused. And in springtime, it is quite humid, and so humidity also had its consequences. So we had to talk a lot with contractors. We clarified the situations, we corrected them in order to take better decisions. Those asphalted tracks, which were old tracks, are updated, are renewed, the same ones, without getting deep into the soil. Just renovating the asphalt, polishing it, and restoring the surface. So we try not to go deep in order to avoid the damage for the roots. This is how works look like, little by little. Paths, roads, tracks, and problems. We had 3 publicizing events. It took us 1.5 years, but maybe it's good because truth is born in disputes. The first decision was too broad about everything, and now we received a very friendly decision, friendly to nature. We are happy and satisfied. Also, correction of the forest management project lasted quite long, and because we had to coordinate the questions with coordinating institutions. And you remember I spoke about free interpretation of the legal basis, but that's not a problem. Colleagues were not able to say what is really needed, how to integrate the forest management project. And when you visit specialists, you simply do not get any answers, direct answers, just delays. And they ask us to write those questions, and then we write them, and then we receive answers that it's not our competence. So that was a problem, and also implementation of the nature management plan. I would like to thank Lithuanian Nature Fund for their communication with the society, because we alone would not be able to achieve the results. We wouldn't be able to manage to control those negative fears, and also fears of the coordinating and controlling institutions, delays, and as I mentioned, environmental measures that they are in opposition with the requirements. But I would like to tell that everything is possible, everything can be done. So technical maintenance is important. This squirrel took part in all our meetings, and she watches our contractors. She is very attentive. And thank you for listening. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer. You mentioned the natural cover. Gravel was used for the cover. It was not asphalt. And we call it a natural cover. How did you decide to remove those children playing grounds? Did the dendrologists decide, or you? In fact, we did that in collaboration We collaborate with arborists, with dendrologists, with the Lithuanian Nature Fund. So it's obvious that those playing grounds are right on the roots, and they appear most diverse initiatives. We have to correct those mistakes that were done sometime in the past. And I will read another question loud. Why some oak trees were pruned while leaving only the trunk? Only the trunks were left. Yes, people perhaps have in mind the dead wood. And there are tables, if you look at them, you will understand that those oak trunks were left for our beetles. And there are informational tables. I can add if the oak is very old, it is dead, it is dried. In order to avoid its removal, absolute removal, we create just a bare trunk, removing the branches. And that trunk may serve as a habitat for diverse species of beetles, of fungi. And so we didn't do that with live oak trees because the purpose of all arbors is to prolong the life of the oak tree. And only if the tree is dead, then it is possible to cut all the trees and to leave the trunk.